Hello, hello, everybody. We are the Serious Film Critics. Welcome back to our wonderful show. My name is Sam.
And I'm David.
All right. A little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. What's going on, Dave? How have the last couple weeks been?
They've been okay. I've been struggling to see this movie just because I didn't really want to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of things to say about this movie, just as a heads up.
Interesting. All righty. Yeah, just a quick heads up to everybody. We have probably a pretty short episode today. We're going to be doing a little bit of news, couple trailer reviews, and then we're going to be talking about Okja. What is that director's name?
Hold on, I got it up here.
Yeah, I know it, but I just can't think of it.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho, who previously did Snowpiercer and some other good stuff. So, yeah, we've got a good episode for you. Yeah, not much going on with me either. I turned another year older, so I'm spiraling closer to death. But other than that,
it was your birthday.
It was, yeah. It was fun. So we're getting old, Dave. We're getting old.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be turning 30 in a couple of years.
Oh man,
that's not good.
Don't like the sound of that. I'm sure some of the millions of our listeners out there are hating us for feeling sorry for ourselves for not even turning 30 yet.
30.
Yeah, especially by the time we're old, we're going to be in android bodies. We'll be living to be like 300 anyway. So
right.
who gives a crap?
But man, 30 comes up so fast. Like, you don't understand. I mean, I remember high school vividly, and 10
I do
years
too,
later.
man. Especially the college era. Like, those years are ingrained in me, and I still feel like physically and everything. I feel like the same way I did then. And it's like, no, we're a lot older than them.
Yeah, we are.
Like, some of the people I work with are like 18, 19 years old, and it's like, I know it's cliche to feel old like in those situations, but I really do. Like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. Like, I see these kids that are like born after 9/11. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and you think of like kids that are born after 9/11 as literally babies, and they're like in high school or like about to go into college, and you're just like, no, make it stop. Well, anyway,
existential crisis for the day, I guess.
Yeah, luckily I haven't experienced a quarter life crisis yet. I really haven't, so I'm holding out on that one, but we'll see. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that nonsense, though. So we've got a great show for you guys today. Yeah, nothing much really going on in the news, or at least nothing I really feel like talking about. So let's jump into a couple trailers here. So the first trailer we're going to be talking about is I almost said The Room, The Disaster Artist, and is Franco's directing this thing, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
And starring in it is Tommy Wiseau? Is that the character, or is?
I mean, it's based on the book called The Disaster Artist, which I really want to read. Matt had a copy that he never loaned to me.
I did not know that was a book.
Yeah, and it's told from what's his name's point of view. Who's the guy? God, I forgot his name. Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah,
I should know this because I've seen this movie so many times. Anyway, it's told from the guy
who
plays Mark, which I always.
Okay, right. I've actually, yeah, and Dave, you're a big fan of this movie, right? Like,
yeah,
you've seen it.
I mean, I saw this movie when I was in high school, I think.
Oh man, I really need to see it. I don't know why I haven't. Like,
I've seen watch it before we watch The Disaster Artist, because a lot of the jokes, like that rooftop scene, is like really every scene is infamous, but that scene especially is infamous.
Yeah, and like we'll be reviewing that movie when it comes out, and I will have seen The Room by then. And I mean, I've seen that scene a lot of times, so like I appreciated the joke in the trailer, but I need to see the rest of that movie. Like, it's.
I mean, the story behind this movie is just amazing, and the book. Like I said, the book is from Mark's point of view. I think his name is Greg or something in real life, and it's like, he shot the movie in SD and HD simultaneously because he didn't understand the difference. Like, this movie cost like millions of dollars to make.
How did he get the crew and the means to do it? Is he like independent?
He sold leather jackets to finance it.
He sold leather jackets?
Yeah.
What?
That's nobody knows where he's from either. He like claims he's American, but people are pretty sure he's from either France or Belgium. And like, he had that famous it was up there for years. In LA, there was a billboard advertising, and it was just a picture of his face. Said The Room.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
he had it up
amazing.
For years.
Wait, I think, is that the like kind of the famous image of him where it's just like his.
Yeah, it's black and white.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. But yeah, so the trailer is basically just him like rehearsing this famous rooftop scene and just getting it wrong over and over again.
He can't
It's
even
like
get the first line out.
he doesn't know it. And then I guess like the crew is like all famous faces. There's like Seth Rogen and I think his brother Dave Frank
Dave is, playing Mark.
Dave Frank. Oh, Dave is playing Mark,
Yeah.
and then there's Paul Scheer, and I saw some other people. But yeah, it's got a stacked cast now that I looked at it. Like there's tons of famous people in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But what I don't understand, they pushed the release date back. Is this like, are you familiar? Like, is his story, and even in terms of The Room, the movie itself, is it like sad, or is there like a deeper like emotional resonance to it, or like are they going for like? Because it doesn't seem like they're going just for laughs if they're like pushing the release date.
That's
back
what I
and,
was
like,
interested about, because like in the final scene, Greg is like, like almost like hugging him, like, yeah, you did it, man. But no, they're going just for laughs, because like the book. I mean, the book, he basically makes fun of. I mean, he makes fun of Tommy Wiseau all the time, so it's gonna be a really funny movie. Like Tommy Wiseau is just like, I mean, he is a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Nobody knows like what his deal is. But I mean, I almost think they're like gonna. When's it come out again? October or something?
Yeah, I think they pushed it back to like October or November or
It says
something.
no December.
So clearly, I would kind of imagine like
It's award
when
season.
I know that's what I was thinking, and when I saw that like Franco's directing, he's starring in it, I was kind of like, is this like, are they going for like a deeper cut to this thing, or
I actually think that they are now. It says comedy drama on Wikipedia. Apparently, it already screened in March.
it already screened, so it's done?
Yeah, so I mean that means we could find a freaking plot. And I mean it's not getting its release for months, but yeah, apparently they did a screening in March.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I figured they were still in like post production or something.
I mean,
That's-
obviously the movie, like, I mean, the story behind the movie, I guess I don't think there's really any drama, because like now, Greg and Tommy, they go around. I don't know if they're still doing it. They would do like these tours, or they would do screenings and then Q&As and stuff.
Oh right.
Yeah, like Matt
Well-
and then went all one to one.
Yeah, I remember them talking about that. But what is is it like? Is the movie like? Is there any seriousness to it, or like, or is it trying to be serious, or like?
You need to watch this movie. I mean,
Yeah, because
I mean, the
I
story
haven't
of
seen the movie, so it seems like it's like utterly ridiculous, but I haven't seen any of it, so I don't.
I mean, it's literally so bad it's good. Like the story of the movie is Tommy Wiseau is like the successful banker. I think that's San Francisco. Yeah, and what's that girl's name? I don't remember the girl's name. And he has like a girlfriend. He's trying to propose to her, and like she ends up cheating on him with his best friend Greg. And I mean, like the story is like, like sad. Like all his friends betray him, and then in the end, he kills himself.
He kills himself in the end.
That's what he's like, God forgive me. Then he shoots himself. Yeah. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Room. You better watch The Room before you watch this. But yeah, I mean the movie's trying to be serious, but it is just utterly ridiculous. Like there's a joke where all the pictures in the movie are like pictures of spoons for some reason.
Oh,
And apparently,
God.
like, this will probably be in the movie too. Maybe not. He tried to, at one point, he was constantly, like, revising the script, and the script supervisor would, like, talk him out of adding stuff. Because apparently, at one point, the character was going to be a vampire.
Oh, my
And the
God.
script supervisor was like, no, get that out. I guess they were, like, revising the script every single day.
Vampire banker.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is, like, I mean, Tommy Wiseau barely speaks English in the movie, and, like, there was just so many, like, pretty famous lines because they're so poorly delivered. The plot
Well, yeah,
is stupid.
Like even the one scene, like the famous rooftop scene,
Yeah,
like you can tell I can't take that seriously because he's just the worst actor I've ever seen in my life. Or at least he's for a movie that's made has such a cult following. I'm like, what is this? He's just, and the way, like, I love the way James Franco like even has the way he throws the bottle, like just like it feels
I know.
it looks so forced, and like he doesn't. It's so uncommitted and just like lazy, and he should. Oh, hi, Mark. Like.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty famous how the way he delivers "Oh hi, Mark" throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where he's like, Mark is asking him something about his like business at the bank, and he's like, "That's too personal. We can't talk about that." And he says, "So how's your sex life?" The way he
my
laughs,
God.
you have to watch this really bad.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find it online or something. I'll
They used to
watch
play it on Adult Swim a lot.
Yeah, I think I remember when it was on there. They need to put it on Netflix or something, but
Yeah.
well, I'm sure I can find it pretty easily. But I don't know. I'm on board. I think it looks funny. I mean, especially knowing that you love the movie so much, and I feel like I can tell just from that rooftop scene, I would really like the movie. So
Oh yeah.
I think this will be a good one. I'm a little scared they're gonna try to be too serious with it at
Yeah,
parts.
I'm
But
actually starting to really wonder about that because now that you mention that, and just like with the way it ended, like I wonder if they're gonna put too much. Maybe they're doing that like almost out of respect because they don't want to just like make this guy look like they don't want to make Tommy Wiseau look like a total idiot. But the story behind the
but
film is really funny, and it's
yeah,
worth telling.
hopefully it's not like treats the character too preciously or like
Exactly,
it's
like
too
it's-
sincere.
The thing is, like,
Kind of like
Greg is like always making fun of Tommy on his Facebook page, and I don't think Tommy cares. So
yeah, he seems like a guy that would probably have a sense of humor.
yeah,
about him.
now
about him.
he kind of like claims in hindsight that the movie is like a black comedy, which is not true at all. That's a
That's
lie.
amazing. Trying to justify. Oh my god, and it kind of reminds me of, like, almost that movie. What was that movie they made about? Remember when that it used to be on YTMND or whatever, that safety with the guy who goes back in time and he's like the want ad in the paper.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they made a movie about that, and I feel like that movie. I didn't even see the movie, but I could tell like they were going for like a serious, like heartfelt angle to it.
Yeah, they
absolutely kind of reminds me of that
Just
situation if they did that, where it's like that did not need to be a serious, heartfelt movie. It should have just been ridiculous, like action and not taking itself seriously.
That really bent me out of shape seeing that they turned it into like this stupid romantic comedy because like that is like one of the early famous internet funny things, and it's just how ridiculous it was. And then they turned it into like, oh, it's just this pure innocent soul.
I know.
Like, give me a break.
Man,
like, it's how it must bring your own weapons. Safety
get
not
out.
Come on.
Safety not guaranteed. They need that. That movie should have had like Dolph Lundgren as the time traveler, and like he should have just been mowing people down, like past, future, and present. Oh my god,
it had so much potential, and when they made it, I was like, wow. And then, yeah,
we'll have to remake that one day when we're famous actor and director combo.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, let's move on. We'll talk. Anything else to say about that?
No, not really. I'm just really excited for it. Actually, now thinking back, that should have been one of my top 5 most anticipated.
I know, yeah. You can revise your list if you want, because I know you had the Mummy on there and some. Well, I don't know. You were looking forward to that. That was a disappointment, but I know we kind of cobbled ours together at the last second there.
Yeah, we really didn't have time to think it through.
No. But this next movie was actually on my list, and I'm feeling pretty good about it staying on there. It's The Shape of Water, which is Guillermo del Toro's latest release, and I can't remember when it's coming out, but I guess it's about a woman who like falls in love with some kind of sea creature, and I think it looks pretty good.
I'm actually like, the tone seems kind of weird because it's like not a horror movie. I guess this is what Guillermo del Toro does. He blends the genres. So it's like I can't really tell what like the conflict is going to be. And I also feel like they spoiled a major plot point in that trailer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
With Michael Shannon. It looked like they showed him dead in the trailer.
Who, the creature? Or?
No, Michael Shannon was playing like the guy that was like at the facility like running it or whatever.
Oh,
there was like one very
dead?
split-second shot where he was like on his knees with like this bloody hole in his chest, and I like wonder if that's like his death scene and it's in the trailer.
Oh, well, that's a huge mistake if it is.
Yeah, it was just a flash, but I mean, it just looks like the beginning is like kind of like this like almost whimsical, like why are these people cleaning this laboratory first of all? Just story, and then it like turns kind of like horror when the thing escapes. I guess it escapes. I mean, I think it looks good, but I think the tone is kind of throwing me off a little.
I got a real strong Pan's Labyrinth vibe from it. I know it wasn't.
I agree.
I know it's an English language movie, but it just had that fairy tale feel to it. Even something about the way it was shot, kind of like dark and like gothic almost. Like I felt. Do you like Pan's Labyrinth? I can't remember if you've seen that or not.
Yeah, I've seen it. I like it.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got from it. So I'm definitely on board. I like Michael Shannon a lot too.
Oh yeah, he's underrated.
He is. I love just the way he talks. He's like, "Yeah, how you doing? What's going on there?" So I'm excited for it. I think visually it looks pretty cool too. I don't know. Not too much else to say about it. I don't really. I guess Doug Jones or whoever's playing the monster creature thing.
Oh, is that the guy that did the monster and Hellboy? Like this?
Yeah, he's the same guy who did the monster and Hellboy. I guess it's pretty much he and Andy Serkis are like the two guys you go to when you need
like pretty much
a creature or monster. Like, oh man,
lockdown.
All right, well, I'm excited though. I think it should be pretty good. All right, I guess what the heck? Let's just jump into this thing, huh?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
So our main review of the day is Okja. The can't remember the director's name again, but
Uh, Boon Jong Ho or
Boon
who?
Jong Ho. There it is. And yeah, just I guess lead us into this thing, Dave.
Yeah. So my synopsis on this one isn't going to be terribly long. Spoiler free one is that this company called Miranda, which I have I'll get into that later. Uh, what do they create the pigs in a laboratory or was it just a mistake? I can't remember.
I think they created them in a laboratory, or like I don't. They may have had mistakes, but I think they did create it in a laboratory
Yeah, they
setting.
create these super pigs and then they send them out to all these different countries that have Mirando headquarters in them, and
Yeah.
they send them to like famous pig farmers to raise them, and whoever raises the best pig is going to win the award in 10 years. And it starts with like this it's really like weird woman who was like inheriting the company from her father, I guess, who was a real dirtbag, and she also has apparently a crazy twin sister. And then the spokesman is Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays a guy named Wilcox, who is like he's kind of like what's the guy's name? Steve Irwin, but like
Kind
weird.
of. We'll get into him.
Yeah, that we'll talk about that a lot, I bet. Yeah, so then it cuts 10 years later and we're in Korea, and we see this massive, gigantic pig that's also like super smart with this little girl. And I guess the little girl, is it her father or grandfather that's raising her, and he's a pig farmer?
Yeah.
So it's 10 years, and they're like, it shows them playing. It actually shows he saves her from falling by like stepping on her rope, and I think he pulls her up. So he's obviously very smart.
Yeah.
And then Wilcox and the people from Mirando show up to look at the pig and like look at its like metrics, and they decide it's like the best pig. And then Wilcox basically falls in love with the pig. So they are, while they're there, the grandfather takes the girl's name, I think it's Mija.
Yeah, Mija, I think.
Mija takes her to her parents' cemetery and to distract her while they take Okja the pig away, because the deal was that they were going to take him back after, or Okja's a girl, I think. They take her
Yeah, I
back
think-
after
yeah.
10 years, and he basically tries to distract her with this solid gold pig he bought with the money for winning. So she basically loses her shit, and she's also a very little girl, by the way. I guess she's probably like what, 12, 10.
Yeah, I think somewhere in there, preteen.
Yeah, so she packs her stuff up, gets the golden pig, and then goes looking for Okja because she knows she's in Seoul. So she goes to Seoul, finds the Mirando headquarters, does this thing where she like manages to crash through the glass front doors. She gets chased around by security, and then she ends up getting on the truck, like jumping on the back of the truck. And there's also this weird thing with the truck driver, which then didn't really never made sense to me. Where the truck driver's really weird and won't talk to the guy that works for
Yeah,
Mirando.
that truck driver was an interesting character. He was like kind of a nihilist or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really understand his purpose. Well, I mean, he was there to like talk trash about Miranda later. But so there's this scene where she's trying to get Okja on the truck, and then another truck pulls up, which is from a group called the Animal Liberation Front, which is a real group that I'm going to talk about later.
It's a real group?
Yeah, they're real, and I got some things to say about them.
I did not know that.
Yep. They're still around, too. I mean, obviously, the movie just came out.
Wow.
Yeah. So the truck manages to crash into them, stalls them out. They get out. They steal Okja off the truck, and then Okja like gets free and goes on a run for it. Meanwhile, the police are closing in. So Okja runs into this underground mall, and I think the ALF managed to get her into the truck from there. And they get her in the truck, and there's a Korean. Only one guy in the ALF speaks Korean, and he is translating to Mija, and they tell him the ALF they never will hurt a human ever, which I thought was funny. Maybe there was supposed to be some irony for that later, because the
I think
leader is
so.
Paul Dano. He's really weird. He wears a suit, and he basically makes this big thing about he will never hurt a human, and especially won't hurt an animal because they're saving him. So they explain to her that they want to put like a hidden camera on Okja so that they can record all the bad stuff that's actually happening to the super pigs. And the translator explains it to him, and Paul Dano is like, "We won't do it unless you say yes." And she says no, but the translator says that she actually said yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he's like super excited. So then they all bail out of the truck, and then they leave the truck for the police to get Okja, and Okja and the little girl gets sent to New York, and I guess the company starts like taking care of the girl a little better because they want to like use her as like for good publicity. So she starts learning a
Yeah.
little English so she won't get, bamboozled again. And then the movie kind of drags a little bit here. She goes to New York City. The Okja gets sent to like some testing facility where Wilcox gets like drunk and like uh decides to freaking extract some flesh from her because they want to like make sure she tastes good. So he
Right.
extracts some flesh and the taste testers do, and he acts really weird the whole time. And then they decide that they're going to unveil Okja to the public during this big parade. So then in the hotel room, Paul Dano sneaks in and explains what's going to happen. He's like, "Don't look at the screen because he doesn't say this. We're going to play all the video of all the horrible stuff that happened, and then we're going to help you set Okja free." So she goes down, she sees Okja, and then she manages to get Okja like going crazy again. And they start playing the video. So everybody, like all these ALF people in the crowd, like break free and they like start trying to make a distraction for the pig to get away, which doesn't end up working. And so they all get beat down by the police, and Okja gets sent to a slaughterhouse because in the chaos, the CEO of Miranda, the woman, her twin sister comes out and basically decides to take over and says, "I'm going to kill all these pigs because, fuck pigs."
Yeah,
And,
she's cutthroat.
Yeah, she just there's also Giancarlo Esposito, what's his name from Breaking Bad. He's in this for some reason, and he's like
Breaking Bad guy.
yeah, he's the bad guy in Breaking Bad.
He's basically playing. What was that character's name in Breaking Bad? Was it Gus?
Yeah, Gus.
He's basically playing Gus as if he were in that corporation.
Yeah, really. I mean, he doesn't offer much to this film. He's like,
No.
do you really want to kill this pig? It kind of like is a stupid idea. I mean, we can make
Yeah.
more money breeding, and she's like, "Oh, fuck the pig." So they sneak into the slaughterhouse this time, and they're not able to save Okja again because the police show up again, and the little girl Mija ends up giving this solid pig to the woman who's like, "Okay, I'll trade you the pig for the gold pig," which that also made no sense. And then they leave and go back to Korea, and they also take a little piglet with them, which I think was like her daughter, or the
Yeah, I think so. or that other pig family's baby or whatever.
Apparently Okja snuck it out with the pig in her mouth because she's like able to put stuff in her mouth without hurting it.
Yeah,
And they go back and they live happily ever after.
that they do. So, alrighty, you want to get into this thing? What did you? I'm taking it you weren't a big fan of this.
I
huh?
was not a big fan. I thought it was manipulative. I also thought it was dishonest, very dishonest.
Ooh, I don't know, man. I actually liked it quite a bit. So I guess we can break this thing down and see where we differ.
Let me talk about like the stuff I thought was like factually dishonest.
Yeah, get into that.
Well, first of all, Miranda was clearly just Monsanto. Because I think there's a scene where doesn't she talk about where her grandfather used to produce like Agent Orange or something?
Ooh,
Maybe I'm imagining, but I think that happens right in the beginning. Because she
You
talks
could
about
be
all the
right.
horrible
It's-
stuff her grandfather did.
yeah, I do remember her talking about her grandfather. And actually, I'm gonna have to plead ignorance here. What's Monsanto, or is that like a
They do all
food?
the GMO crops, so a lot of people hate them.
Oh, I
And they also
gotcha.
made Agent Orange during Vietnam, but they were basically, as far as I understand, forced to make it by the government because they were just contracted, along with a lot of other companies. A lot of people talk about Monsanto being evil because they're like if you
Yeah.
pick like an evil corporation, you're gonna probably Monsanto is gonna be one of the first names that pops up because they make GMO crops and they they do the thing where like you have to buy the seeds every season because if you use the seeds from the old season, you're gonna get sued by them or something.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So they're basically bastards.
I mean,
But
the real reality is way more complicated than that.
yeah. Well, I guess the way I saw this movie is I felt like first and foremost it was more a story about Mija and Okja than the underlying message. I mean, obviously there's things there, but for me, I thought the ultimate message was this is a story about this girl and her friend, and
I think that the problem is maybe that's right, but it's like the scene where it's showing all the slaughterhouse pig stuff to the public. I mean, that was almost like projecting it straight to the viewer.
Well,
like this is what happens at slaughterhouses.
I think clearly the movie does have an animal rights leaning toward it, but I don't feel like that was like the primary goal of the movie because at the end of the day, they don't. I think if they had saved all the pigs and destroyed Miranda and stuff like that, I think it would have been more, just more blatant in that favor. But I think the fact that at the end of the day, all Mija is able to do is save her friend. Like, it's not like she saves all the pigs, or, everybody
But almost it's
stops
like
eating.
that's even more depressing because it's like it leaves it to the viewer, like, Monsanto is still out there and they're still doing bad stuff, and now it's your turn.
Well, I mean, I guess in that regard, I think to a degree that's a realistic approach, because there is things like factory farming, and they're bad, and I think a lot of people know about them, and it's just, but you kind of have to accept that's reality. And I think that's what this movie, well, again, like, yeah, it's clearly leaning toward animal rights, proponents, but I don't think it's like, I at least I didn't get an in your face feel to it, because I also felt like they don't really portray the ALF. I didn't think they portrayed him in that favorable of a light. I mean, clearly
I actually
more so.
was wondering that scene where because there's a scene we didn't talk about where one of the guy that lied about the translation, he gets kicked out, and in the process of getting kicked out, the leader, the guy that's supposed to be this major pacifist, like beats the crap out of him.
Yeah,
And I think it's kind
I
of
mean,
ironic because he said earlier he would never harm a human, basically.
yeah, he does, and then he kicks the shit out of his friend there. So, well, and not only that, but I think the way that those people are portrayed is just kind of goofy and like
Almost like
you know,
useless a little bit.
yeah, like they're almost like well-meaning buffoons. Like, I think that's kind of how the movie portrays them, and I thought that was interesting because it's not like they made those guys, knights on white horses just riding in for justice. And
I think my problem is that they got portrayed in like a much more favorable light. Like the major corporation, like, the thing with Monsanto is like they're not like the super evil empire. Like they do bad stuff, but I mean, they're, like I said, they're not an evil empire. And I mean, yeah, they did get portrayed like not in, like kind of goofy and dumb. And apparently the ALF in real life, for the most part, they don't do anything too bad, but they've had a reputation for like firebombing people's houses.
well, yeah, what is, since you looked them up, like, what's some background on the ALF?
Apparently,
Like,
it's like a super loose connected kind of animal rights organization, and they're like, they do stuff like raid farms and set animals loose. They have like animal sanctuaries, but like they've also in the past have had some issues with like where people from ALF have like they have no centralized leadership. I guess they have like firebombed people's houses and cars, trying to kill them. They've never killed anybody, but they've definitely tried to hurt people.
So is it like a more militaristic PETA, or is that
With that, I think they do a lot less, especially now. I mean, I think it's like a more of like a almost like a Splinter Cell thing where like people will just like do stuff and they'll be claiming they're part of the ALF.
Yeah, like I kind of got the impression that the people who were in the ALF in that movie almost thought they were like secret agents or something, and they were just kind of like. And obviously they make some stuff happen in the movie, but I never got the impression that the movie glorified them too much. I mean, I do think
you're right.
obviously,
It definitely didn't make them. It made them, look kind of dumb and stuff. But it still they were like they helped do good things, which I guess they do good things in real life too. But they also do bad things.
Yeah, very true. But yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about, I don't know how you feel about this, is like one of the big plot points is that. And I think they catch this on recording, is that Miranda is like feeding genetically modified stuff to people and lying about it.
Oh, right.
And it's, that's another thing with Monsanto. They sell the GMO crops, which are basically, in some places, the only crops that can survive because the pests are so bad. And it's like, with all this stuff out there with GMOs, like I'm pretty sure Bill Nye said he supports GMOs because there's like basically nothing that says you shouldn't eat them yet. So that was like a major plot point, that GMOs are going to kill you, and really... maybe they're bad, but there's literally nothing that says they are yet.
Yeah, I was less sympathetic to. I've looked into like factory farming and stuff, and it is pretty disgusting what they do to what some corporations do to some of those animals. So I do have somewhat of a sympathetic ear toward that. The GMO thing, I think that might be getting a little preachy if the movie's
that was
really
pretty
trying
shoehorned in too, because the factory farming plot point was enough.
Yeah, I think that's a little much. I'm with you there. But what are other things you disliked? I'll get into things I disliked, because I think I disliked a lot.
I'm pretty sure I know one thing you disliked that I really disliked was Jake Gyllenhaal's performance.
I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was awful in this. And but to be fair, it wasn't just him. I think that character was just the worst. Like,
that character was shit.
I didn't find him I literally did not laugh once with that character. And clearly that character was supposed to be like the comic relief in the movie. And
especially the scene where he's like falling in love with Okja and he ends up taking the chunks out of her. Like,
Yeah, like that scene was even worse, like tonally, because like I didn't think Jake Gyllenhaal was funny. I thought he was just annoying. I hated the voice he
Yeah.
uses. Like,
Oh God, he used a terrible
like
voice.
I felt like the voice kind of like changed at different times. I felt like sometimes when he was like his on-air personality, he sounded a bit more like almost like a TV host or something, like putting on that radio voice or TV voice or something. And then other times it felt like even when he was on TV, he was kind of using that same whiny, high pitched voice. And I just didn't think it worked at all. I didn't like the look of his character. I thought he was. I just didn't want. He was in it way too much for me too. Like I think they really wanted to try to get you to feel sorry for him or like to kind of develop some kind of attachment to him, and it just did not work for me at all. Like I thought he was awful.
I didn't even get what he was going for because he wasn't likable. Maybe a couple ones he tried to be likable. He was just annoying. He wasn't funny. His voice, like you said, was terrible. I didn't really
Yeah,
understand what he was even and his character, like with a lot of characters, didn't serve a lot of purpose in the film.
like that just felt like the most actory put on voice I've ever heard. Like I don't know how the director was not like, look, like let's scale it back a little bit. Like it didn't sound real at all. It was literally just like telling someone, "Hey, just do a ridiculous voice." Yeah, okay, right. Like it was just
Yeah, it was
terrible.
bad.
Yeah, like I didn't buy. I like he didn't feel real at all. He felt like a total cartoon. And I mean, not that the movie is super realistic or anything, but he just felt out of place. He felt like he belonged in an anime or something.
I
But
mean,
he,
that was part of the film. Was like it had like a goofy collection of characters. Like people in the ALF were weird. I think it was like the whole idea was it was a quirky film with quirky characters. But it was like even with that, Jake Gyllenhaal was just towering above them and just being terribly irritating.
well, especially since he's like the biggest name that's in this movie. Like he's like A-list actor doing quirky indie movie.
That's
And
actually
like,
another thing I want to talk about. We can get to it after if you want.
yeah.
It,
But
on Wikipedia it says this has an ensemble cast.
oh really?
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think I would agree with that either.
That's something I want to talk about in general. Anyway, with that,
Yeah,
with,
but yeah, I don't really have much else to say about Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought he was just really bad, and I thought that was a big misstep. I didn't really have a problem with any of the other performances. I liked Tilda Swinton. I thought she was good. I mean, Breaking Bad guy was
he was
not
kind of
great.
he was serviceable.
But yeah, he was fine. Like, I mean, I don't know what else with those lines. I mean, I thought he did fine with them. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
what
he had
else
little
he
screen
could
time.
have done. Clearly, they wanted him to basically portray his Breaking Bad character, kind of just as cutthroat businessman. So, I mean, he did it just fine. I thought the main girl was really good. I thought she was likable. Who else is in this movie? I actually didn't hate Paul Dano. I wasn't a fan of his character too much, but I thought he did a good job, especially since it's supposed to be, I think, a really kind of, I don't know if unlikable is the right word, but a really messed up character. Like,
Yeah,
not
actually,
a character.
Didn't think they were going for that at first, but I think later on they definitely were going like. I think he gave a good performance just because his character was like kind of like on the surface was like a decent person or a great person, but really there was a lot of messed up stuff about him, and you definitely got that vibe. He was creepy.
Yeah, he was creepy, and it's like you on the outside, a lot of his intentions were good, but you got a feeling almost like subtext that there's something wrong with this guy, and you're not exactly sure what his motivations are beyond just being a good person and wanting to save animals. You got a feeling that something else was going on there, and they don't really address it, but I think it's cool that you get that feeling, and I think you're supposed to get that feeling with that character.
Yeah, especially since it's almost sinister. Like the other ones, like there's the guy who doesn't even want to eat fruits and plants because he doesn't want to have like any impact on the earth at all. So that's played for laughs. But all of the other ones are just kind of like goofballs, and then there's Paul Dano who's like he's just weird. Like there's something evil about him almost.
Yeah, there really is, and that's why it's like that. That mixture between like you sort of understand what he's doing, and at least I was kind of on his side rather than Mirando, but at the same time you're like, this guy is not, he's got a couple screws loose, and I think it makes you sort of question, and just everybody in that ALF is nobody's quite right. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, yeah, they're almost like kind of the tragic, well-meaning fools in the movie. So I was cool with that portrayal. I loved Okja too. I think they did a great job with that CGI. I thought Okja felt real. I cared about Okja. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that won me over with this movie was just Mija and Okja and their relationship. And I bought it. I enjoyed it, and I felt like it was natural. And there weren't really any times where I was thinking about like, does that look good? Is that CGI? Like, I kind of like bought it.
I mean, I agree. I think that their relationship was well developed and realistic, but I also feel like they had to do almost all the development in the beginning because in the rest of the movie she was just trying to like find Okja. Like she didn't have much time to develop that relationship.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
And
But
I mean, I don't know. I didn't care about the Okja as much as you did, just because I feel like I was taken out of like, this pig doesn't exist and it can't exist, and it was like, if it was like a dog or something like a real animal that was doing all that stuff, it would have been one thing. But since it was like, something that obviously couldn't exist in my mind, I just didn't care about it as quite as much.
well, I think that's a potentially one criticism of the movie. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it because I am sympathetic toward animal rights movements and stuff, but I will say that they did create Okja to be something that obviously isn't real. I mean, this animal was more likable and more intelligent and more sympathetic than any animal really I can think of, especially any animal that is on the chopping block per se.
I think that was pretty manipulative to make it. It was literally the smartest animal there is. It wouldn't be on the chopping block to begin with.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I guess who knows if it had this ability to produce that much meat or, potential to save the world. But I almost feel like there would be, if an animal like that was created, I think there would be more of a public backlash at, treating it just like a slaughterhouse animal rather than, it's just this evil corporation like taking over. So I think that's kind of questionable in there, but I did like Okja and I bought it, but I can understand that being a criticism because Okja obviously isn't like just some average pig or like a cow or something. Like she's really likable, she's incredibly smart, and it's just
yeah, I mean she literally saves Mija's life in the beginning of the film, so.
But I think that's an interesting question, considering how much, like, if that was a real animal, would they use it for meat? Because I guess, like, doesn't, like, when it poops or whatever, like, not affect the environment? Like, isn't it, like, a positive for the environment? So I guess they tried to create an animal that it's almost like, even though it has all these positive, intelligent qualities, like, eating it is just too beneficial to be ignored or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they didn't play that angle up much. It was just in the beginning where they talk about how it's going to be like, produce more meat, do less, emissions than like any other animal. But they didn't come back to that point at all. Maybe they didn't want to because it would create a little bit of a moral dilemma because they were just trying to kill it because, they were evil. But if they had like played it more from like the humanitarian angle, like we're going to save the world with this pig, I feel like it would have been more interesting film.
That's fair.
Because after the beginning, they really it almost seemed like it was like, why did they make this pig? Because they were doing like the pig jerky or whatever, but like, the evil twin just wanted to kill the pig basically for no reason, and like, it was obviously they didn't care about saving the world, which is fine, but they didn't play that angle up in the slightest later on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. But I think it comes down to that other sister just literally. And I guess that's the deeper question is like, what is it trying to, is it trying to say that some of these organizations literally don't care at all about these animals? Because the other sister was just immediately willing to slaughter all of them for the meat. And it's like, do corporations that are in charge of, factory farms, do they deserve a better, to be portrayed in a better light? Or is does this trying to single out, I guess it is trying to single out. Does Monsanto deal with like slaughterhouses, or is it?
They even do. I think it's all crops. I don't know. I'd have to look, but I mean, their main thing is they sell crops, and then the big thing is with Roundup, the pesticide you use on their crops, because I mean it's like an insanely poisonous pesticide. But I don't know if they do anything with animals or not. They just do GM crops.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I should look
Um,
into it. I mean, there's a lot of Monsanto is a super touchy subject. I mean,
yeah, what it, like is I wonder if is there any like direct confirmation from anybody that this is what they were going for with that,
I
or
mean, there's not, but I mean, the fact that it was named Mirando and it was like dealing with genetically modified foods. I mean, to me, that
yeah.
is just a giant, you know, hey, this is what we're going
I
for.
guess Mirando is basically like Monsanto if they develop this pig, like
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, maybe
um,
I'm imagining things, but I feel like in the beginning of the film she was talking about Agent Orange, and if that's the case, I would need to go back and watch again. Or maybe it was the scene where she's in the conference room with Wilcox. But if that's the case, then it was very clearly. I mean,
yeah,
'cause that's
I
a
could
big hit
believe you.
against Monsanto.
Yeah, and it's been like a week since I've seen it, so I'm trying to like remember, but um, I don't know. What are some other things about this thing? I thought visually it was really well done. I thought there were the cinematography was good. I thought it was well directed. I didn't have any technical issues with it. Again, I thought the CGI was great. So
Yeah, it had some really good visuals. That was probably one of my big pluses is that there were some really good cinematography, which is what I expected from this director.
yeah, so he did Snowpiercer and he did something
I
else,
think he
a
did the
couple other.
host or something.
Yeah, he did the host. That's what it was. I was trying to think of that one. Yeah, I don't know. He's an interesting director. I'm curious to see what he's got coming next. I know I'm pretty sure you like Snowpiercer a lot more than this one
Oh
though, huh?
yeah, I mean, this definitely
Yeah.
has a lot of touches from Snowpiercer, especially with like the goofiness and the quirkiness, because Snowpiercer has a little bit of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, especially like when they're showing like the video of like how the train works, that really felt like it was something we saw in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely got that feel. Um I don't know. I don't know what else I really have to say. What
Yeah,
else you got?
let me think. I had a lot to complain about. I mean, actually, one thing I didn't like the girl that much. I thought she was kind of annoying.
Oh, Mija?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't that into her. I mean, it just seemed like she was just like, yeah, maybe it was just because she was a kid. She just seemed kind of annoying.
She was very like obstinate and like not willing to cooperate, but I guess the fact that she was played most often against like the Mirando people, like I was cool with it. I thought she did a good job. She's kind of like this precocious kid, and I bought her connection with Okja. So I think that's if you buy that connection, I think you'll probably like the movie. But if you're not, like it seems like you were kind of didn't have time to really form your like develop a connection with them, and then it's already on to all this escape stuff and all that kind of thing. So if you're not on board with that right away, it seems like because again, I think that's what the movie's mostly about is trying to push that relationship between those two. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite. It was too much about the message. And, I feel like it was pretty blunt, and it also just didn't work for me. But I mean, factory farming is definitely a legit thing, and there are definitely companies doing worse stuff than in this movie, to be honest.
Yeah, that's that's my other thing I was gonna say is I think if they had really wanted to get their hands dirty, I think they could have showed that last scene where she's in the factory. I think they could have gone even darker with it.
Oh yeah, they
because
definitely could have.
they like especially since they're trying to go over the top with how evil Mirando is. Like, don't get me wrong, what they were doing in that factory when you get the tour of the factory at the end, it was bad. But like there are like I've read accounts of like what's gone on in some of these factory farms, and it is much worse than that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean, there's like super awful stuff, especially with chickens. I think get the worst.
Yeah, the chickens are the worst where they'll put them in these cages where they can't even move, like, and they'll just like have to break their legs will like break because they're shoved into those cages. Like, this was like, by comparison to some of the awful stories you hear out there, you read about, like, this was kind of a, like a nice way, not nice, but a decent way to kill these animals. They kill them pretty quick. Like,
yeah, I know, they
feel
just, like shoot them in the head, right? Like point blank.
yeah, and it's kind of over. I think if
It's
they had
humane.
really, yeah, it really is. Like, and that's the thing. I feel that like that was a little bit disconcerting and a little bit of a mixed message there. I think if they had really wanted to push this agenda, I think they would have, gotten really dark there. I mean, they could have shown some grotesque things. I think the movie wasn't the movie already rated R?
I actually don't know. What is this movie rated?
I feel like it's probably rated R,
Does
but
it
and if
have
not,
a rating.
it's not, aimed at kids. So they could have, pushed it with that last scene. I don't feel like they did.
Where do you even? I'm looking at the Wikipedia and I don't see a rating on here. I guess they don't put them on here or something. Uh, I'm actually.
Yeah,
Hold on. That's a
I
good
wonder
point.
if it's like not rated or like it's just not on the scale.
Hold on. It's TVMA, so I mean, it's definitely not for kids.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's somewhere in the R vicinity. So
It was
yeah, I
like when
think
it
they could.
got a little gory, it was definitely like too much for kids, but it also had a lot of stuff that I felt like was aimed at kids.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those middling movies where it was like, it didn't feel like a kids movie, but yeah, it didn't necessarily feel like a hard R fan of, it didn't feel like Pan's Labyrinth or something like that. But I think they could have gone super dark at the end. I don't think it would have destroyed the tone of the movie. I think because of the mixed tone anyway, like it at various times it kind of plays like a cartoon, but then other times it, plays like a drama and kind of like a fantasy. Like I think they could have gone, you know, brutal at the end, and I think it would have still made sense. Especially since they kind of already, I mean, they obviously went for some darkness there. I think they could have just pushed it a lot further if they had really wanted to get a message across. Like, look, this shit is really bad. Like, factory farming sucks. But instead, they're kind of like, obviously this isn't good, but hey, at least Mirando's killing these animals in a humane way.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I don't know. I mean, I guess I disagree a little bit. I mean, I think it was enough to jar the average person, maybe if they don't know how bad it is. But
yeah, I
I mean,
guess
you're
that's
right. It
true.
wasn't definitely toned down, but maybe it was tamed just specifically because they didn't want to have like this super, gory stuff in their film.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I think if they had pushed it, I would have been a fan. Especially, but I guess the average person, you're right, probably doesn't know the extent of what goes on in some of these places. So to them, this was, oh my God, this is awful, and it is awful. But could have pushed it. All right, you want to do like final thoughts or anything else or?
Yeah, I mean, let me think if I have any final thoughts. I mean, we went over the performances. They were varied. There was a lot of performances in this film. Oh, also,
Yeah.
when we're done, I want to talk about ensemble films in general. And then, yeah, you want to just do our ratings? Do you have any final thoughts?
Not really. It was good. I liked it a lot. Again, it's been like a week now, so some of this stuff is like a struggle. Like
Yeah, it
it's not a
fades
movie.
quick.
Yeah, it's fading, but I did like it a lot. So what are you gonna give it out of 10?
I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, which is actually, it's moved up. I was ready to give it a 4 after I finished watching it.
Ready to give it a 4, man. All
Yeah.
right, yeah. I'm between a 7.5 and an 8. I think I'm gonna go 7.8 on this bad boy. So liked it. I think it's definitely worth a watch. So all right. You want to talk about some ensemble
Well,
janks?
I wish I had done some research because I just sometimes I'll be reading Wikipedia pages for films and I saw this one said an ensemble cast, which I would really disagree with. I mean, this had like maybe 2 A-list actors, and then it had like a handful, maybe 2 recognizable actors. Like it had Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal, and then it had Paul Dano and Giancarlo Esposito, and that really was it.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like an ensemble to me either. Yeah, it definitely had a couple big stars, and then, I mean, there's a lot of, unless they're just talking about ensemble in terms of like, there's a lot of characters in the movie, but I think there are a couple characters that are clearly have significance over the others. Like, I don't
I think it
it's,
means an ensemble, like having a lot of. I mean, when it says ensemble, I'm assuming it means because I looked at the page for Black Hawk Down that says ensemble cast, which I would say that's an example of a good one.
yeah, that is an ensemble movie because it's everybody's important and has, but this is like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much Paul Dano. I mean, I would almost say Paul Dano, Tilda Swinton, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and
Yeah, really.
I guess you could throw in, Okja and Mija, but as far as like, yeah, I think it's pretty much those three.
Oh yeah, there's another film that said it that I just thought was hilarious. Let me bring up
and
the page.
to me, it's to the detriment of the movie that maybe it would have been better served to be more ensemble because I think the fact that it felt like they were trying however they could to like squeeze Jake Gyllenhaal in there as much as they could, and it's like I think it did harm to the movie because personally, I think if they hadn't had him in it as much, I think it would have been an even better movie because he just took away from it whenever he was on.
Okay, I just looked at the Wikipedia definition. It says when the actors or performers are assigned roughly equal amounts of importance and screen time in a film, which I don't really think that was the case in Okja at all.
No, I don't think so.
Because it was
either.
really just it followed the main character by far the most.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much Mija, Okja, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Tilda Swinton, and I guess Paul Dano too.
But it's like, Paul Dano, Tilda Swinton, and Jake Gyllenhaal did not get like an even amount of screen time because they didn't get nearly as much as Mija.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think her and Okja were the central part of the story for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it really was their story. It was following them by far the most, I feel like.
Yeah. What are some other good like ensemble movies that better fit the?
Well, Ocean's 11.
Oh man, that's probably like
That's
quintessential. Yeah, Ocean's 11 is because every character in that movie has like a huge part to play.
I mean, for me, an ensemble cast is a cast of like everyone's famous, but I guess it's not necessarily the.
Well, I think a good example of that too that we just saw is Baby Driver. I think that's a pretty.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, if you were talking about cast, but I mean, that definitely followed Baby Driver more than anyone else.
It did, but I feel like everybody in that movie was like a central part of the movie, and they were also really famous. And
yeah, definitely in terms of the cast, I mean, everybody was recognizable except maybe the girl.
Yeah, I can't remember what she's been in, but alrighty. Anything else you want to putz around here with, or we just want to?
No, I guess what are we doing next? Dunkirk?
Yeah, let's. We got a big one coming up, ladies and gents. We're doing Dunkirk. So, will this be the movie that converts Dave and I to Christopher Nolan fanboys? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. But yeah, so next week we're gonna be doing Dunkirk. We may be joined by a special guest, so stay tuned. Get very, very excited. Yeah, let's just say he's a history expert, and you may recognize him.
You may recognize him.
You may recognize that voice of his. So, yeah, it'll be exciting. All right, let's stick a fork in this thing because we're done. Follow us on Facebook at The Serious Film Critics. We are on Twitter as well at serious_critics. We have a Tumblr page. I know Dave posted his top 25 movies of 2001 and beyond, so check that out. I may post mine on there if I stop being lazy and actually do it.
We're also both on Letterboxd if you want to look for us there.
Yeah, we're on Letterboxd too, so which is a very interesting website.
It's very interesting. It's
very interesting.
Got some interesting characters on there. Actually, I was reading a review of Dunkirk. It was actually from a newspaper, and that guy had some pretty interesting things to say about Dunkirk.
Oh, negative or positive?
Well, I don't want to spoil, but he basically said that Dunkirk was like an example of like why Brexit is bad or something.
Oh my god!
And I was like really? Like this is the same website I was reading a review for The Mummy, and the guy caught all this heat because he said Top Gun was a good film. Like everybody was fixated on that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they were literally like attacking, like I couldn't take your review seriously because you said Top Gun was a good film. Like really, guys? Like that's what irked you about his review.
Top Gun, that plebeian trash.
Yeah, that jingoistic propaganda piece.
Oh my god. Well, we'll stay tuned next week to see if we think Dunkirk is a metaphor for Brexit.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know. It's we're gonna go deep on that one. So, all right, guys. And send us your emails to seriousfilmcritics@gmail.com about anything you want. Let us know if you agree with Dave and I's top 25 of 2001 and beyond lists because we're very curious to know what you think about those. And obviously, just let us know about anything else, like any versus fights you want, like Arnold Schwarzenegger versus a giant monkey. I don't know. Just let us. We'll talk about it. Even it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. We'll get into it. So yeah, email us and stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming your way. So take it easy, boys and girls. Adios.